Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wicked Psychology, streaming of live trials. How are you guys? Hopefully, you guys are having a fantastic start to your week. Nasfer, you are first. Welcome. Hopefully, you're doing well. So, today is exciting, guys, because we're going to start covering the Erica Stefanko retrial. And this case is one that I covered very early on in the Wicked channel. So now that they're having their retrial, we just have to cover it. There are so many layers to it, and I just want to go over a little background into Erica Stefanko before we get started, and why they're having their retrial. That's always the big question. So let's start off with going over the overarching story. So Erica Stefanko was convicted in 2020 of aggravated murder for her alleged role in the 2012 death of Ashley Biggs. Ashley was the ex-girlfriend and mother of the shared child of Stefanko's husband, Chad Cobb. So Stefanko was married to Chad Cobb, and Ashley Biggs, the victim, was the ex and mother of his child. So Stefanko was the stepmother of the child, which is very important. Ashley was accusing Stefanko at the time of abusing her daughter as well, and she disappeared while delivering pizza. She was a pizza delivery person, and she was also in the military. And it was a fake call that allegedly Stefanko made to lure Ashley out. Ashley's body was later found, beaten, and strangled. And then Chad Cobbs pled guilty to the death of Ashley Biggs' murder in 2013, and he implicated Stefanko as having to do with the crime itself. She allegedly made the call to lure Ashley to her death site, and she also allegedly followed Chad to the site where they dumped Ashley and her vehicle, and her children were supposedly in the car with her at that time as well, when Chad got back in the vehicle all bloodied. Erica was essentially the getaway driver for Chad at the time. He testified against Stefanko in her 2020 trial via Zoom due to the COVID restrictions at the time. The jury convicted Stefanko on 2 counts, and she received life with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Now, Erica Stefanko's conviction was later overturned on appeal due to issues related to Chad's testifying remotely. So he testified in the prison instead of showing up in court, since there was the 2020 COVID going on, and the defense is alleging that that was not acceptable and that they need a retrial, so that is why they're having the retrial now. And Cobb is expected to testify in this trial as well in person. There are key issues at the retrial. Key issues at the retrial will likely include the reliability of Chad's testimony against Stefanko and whether other evidence sufficiently proves her direct involvement in the death. Again, allegedly right now, she's the one that made the call, and she was the getaway vehicle at the time, was her said involvement. So it'll be interesting to see new evidence that comes up, if any, and who testifies. One thing that I realized today as well, guys, is that Erica is going to take the stand herself, which she did not in her first trial. So that's going to be a really interesting difference in this one as well. So without further ado, let's get started with the opening statements.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are here to hold this defendant, Erica Stefanko, responsible for what she chose to do on June 21st, June 20th to June 21st of 2012. We are here to hold her accountable for the actions she chose to take. Ladies and gentlemen, in the words of Shakespeare, a rose by any other name is still the same. That means whether you hold the defendant responsible as the principal actor or as an accomplice, all paths, all roads, all lead to the same thing, that the defendant is guilty of aggravated murder and murder. Evidence and testimony will show that this murder could not have occurred without Erica Stefanko. Chad Cobb and Erica Stefanko planned it together, and they carried it out together. Now, as you listen to the evidence and testimony in this case, the state would ask that you keep the concept of complicity in the forefront. We would ask that you keep in mind that a person who knowingly aids, helps, assists, encourages, directs, or associates himself or herself with another, either for the purpose or in the commission of a crime, is regarded as if she were the principal offender and is just as guilty. And is just as guilty, as if she personally performed every act constituting the offense. The state would like that you keep in mind that as you listen to the testimony and evidence, that when two or more persons having a common purpose to commit a crime, and one does one part and the second does another, those acting together are equally guilty. The state would ask that you keep in mind as you listen to the testimony and evidence that a person who is complicit with another in the commission of a criminal offense is regarded as guilty as if she personally performed every act constituting the offense, even if she did not perform every act, even if she was not present at the time the offense was committed. Now, my co-counsel talked to you a little bit about that during jury selection and the example he gave about the mob boss in New York calling a hit in California, or the getaway driver in the car waiting for the individual in the bank robbing it. Okay, do you all remember that? Now, I said we're here to hold her responsible for her actions. What happened? Who all was involved? Well, what happened is Ashley Biggs was murdered. She was lured to her location. She was tased, beaten, zip-tied and strangled to her death, thrown in the back of her car, driven to an entirely different county, and dumped in a cornfield. That's what happened. Who all was involved? Ashley Biggs. She was 25 years old at the time, and she worked at Domino's Pizza. Ashley Biggs had a child, Grace Cobb, approximately 7 years old. She had just gotten temporary custody of. She was in a relationship with an individual named Brittany Dunson. They were with Grace Cobb at that time. And I stated she had just got temporary custody. That would have been from the father, Chad Cobb. Chad Cobb is currently in prison serving life without parole for the murder of Ashley Biggs. At that time, Chad Cobb was married to the defendant, at that time, Erica Cobb. So you have one couple on one side, Brittany Dunson and Ashley Biggs, and you have another couple on the other side, Chad Cobb and Erica, now known as Erica Stefanko, and you have a child in the middle, Grace Cobb. So, how did this come about? Well, on June 20th to June 21st, the defendant, Erica Stefanko, made a call to Domino's Pizza. That call lured Ashley Biggs to her death. And it wasn't just a phone call. That phone call came in at approximately 11:42 at night to a business that was closed, and not just to that business, but to the back door. That is what was specified, have the driver go to the back door of that business. And she used a fake name. Evidence and testimony will show once Ashley got to that business, and you saw that on the jury view, she was ambushed. She was ambushed. That's where she was tased. At that location is where she was beaten. And that is the location where that zip tie was placed around her neck, causing strangulation and her death. Evidence and testimony will show that Ashley Biggs did not leave that parking lot alive. Evidence and testimony will also show that the defendant had conversations. The defendant was under a tree. Evidence and testimony will show the prior calculation and design, what went into this crime. Evidence and testimony will show that the defendant laid in wait while this was happening to Ashley. Once Chad put her in the back of that car and drove away, the defendant followed him from that location that you were taken to on the jury view on West Turkeyfoot Lake Road to an entirely different county, to a cornfield. Once there, evidence and testimony will show that Chad drove Ashley Biggs' car. Can't drive two cars. Evidence and testimony will show that Chad was driving Ashley's car and the defendant was in tow, following right behind. He drove that car to the far corner of that cornfield, the far right corner, while the defendant waited. Evidence and testimony will show that when Chad Cobb came back, he was bloody. He was dirty. He just got done walking the cornfield, and it was visible for all to see. And evidence and testimony will show that it was the defendant that drove him home to shower away the evidence. But thinking, if you look like this, Chad, what does the scene look like? So it was decided to go back to the scene and try to clean it up. And evidence and testimony will show that the defendant, Chad, I failed to mention 4 children who were in tow. And I mean in tow from the beginning, from when the defendant made the call to lure Ashley to the building, from when she stayed and laid in wait in the car until it was over, when she drove a whole county over following Chad to the cornfield, when she went home for him to shower. And now these children in this car is coming back out to the crime scene for them to try to clean up the mess. And keep in mind of these times. However, evidence and testimony will show that it did not go as planned when they got back to the crime scene, for the police was already there. And what did they do? Together, they went and hid behind that detached garage at 731 Rex Lake Road. And this is approximately 3-4 o'clock in the morning with 4 kids in tow. That's what the evidence will show. That they were together through this whole thing. The planning, the execution, the cover-up. Now, evidence and testimony will show, and you will hear from different witnesses and see different things. I would like to talk about 2. You will hear from a Cindy Cobb. Evidence and testimony will show that Cindy Cobb secretly taped a conversation between her and the defendant. Evidence and testimony will show that this is a free-flowing conversation. The defendant is talking freely. And during that conversation, evidence and testimony will show that the defendant made several admissions. Admissions that prove prior calculation and design. Admissions that go to complicity. Evidence and testimony will show that during that conversation, the defendant said he came up with how to do it. He executed almost all of it. The part that he executed went totally awry. Evidence and testimony will show that the defendant is talking about Chad Cobb. The defendant admitted, because I remember the conversation that we had under the tree, because we really were literally under a tree when we had the conversation. And he's like, you know, if I do this, there's no turning back. Evidence and testimony will show that tree, that location, was at 647 Rex Lake Road, the scene of the murder. The defendant stated in that conversation, he would get this look on his face and be like, yeah, if this goes through and I can do this, I'm going to keep her skull as a trophy. During that conversation, evidence and testimony will show that Cindy Cobb said, at one time, you told me face to face that you made the phone call and you set the meeting up. I mean, that's what you had told me. Evidence and testimony will show the defendant's response, and there's no lie in that. She states, and there is no lie in that. But like I say, if Chad said, this is what we're going to do, and this is your part in it, and I carry out my part in it, I did exactly what he told me to do. It wasn't because he was forcing me to do it or like he had a gun to my head. She said it wasn't like he was forcing me to do it or like he had a gun to my head. It was because he says, this is your part and this is what you're going to do, which is how it always was. Evidence and testimony will show that goes to complicity, that she was part and parcel. The defendant stated, if what was supposed to happen that night happened, he had the perfect plan. But it didn't go the way it was supposed to go at all. And why that is, I don't know. Because he told it to me 2 different ways. It doesn't matter now. That goes to show again, prior calculation and design. Evidence and testimony will show that the defendant stated, and this is again to Chad Cobb, you know what you can do and what you can't. If this is something that you can't do, then I'm okay with it. And I agree with it. If you can't do it, then obviously you shouldn't do it. And she goes on to state, I always threw the ball back in his court. I don't think those are the exact words that I used that night because we had already been over it so many times. Evidence and testimony will show that night meant the night of the murder. She said, I'm like, this is the only way the situation is going to go away. I feel like he felt pressured by me to do something about it. I should have at that point said, this is too risky. Because I just see him get away with so much shit that I thought he could get away with anything. Evidence and testimony will show in that conversation, if everything, the defendant said, if everything had been told exactly as it happened, and if everything had been told exactly as it happened, then we'd both be in prison right now. Then we would both be in prison right now. I don't disagree with that. That is totally the truth. These are Erica Stefanko's words. Cindy says, I mean, do I think it took 2 of you to get where you are today? Yeah. And the defendant replies, I'm not disagreeing with that, but it took 2 of us. He's trying to put it all on me. I have a problem with that. Again, whether you hold her accountable as the accomplice or as the principal, all roads lead to the defendant being guilty of aggravated murder and murder. She says, you know, you can't really function in everyday life if you're gonna look over your shoulder every second. Every time I hear a siren, I think they're coming for me. And that's something I'm gonna live with. But I don't need him contributing to it. The way he went about it, unless his real intention is to actually throw me in prison, I'm gonna need to make arrangements to see what's gonna happen to the kids. These are the defendant's statements, ladies and gentlemen, in a secretly recorded conversation where she is freely talking. Now, because of the rules of evidence, we may have to play that conversation. It's a little under 3 hours long. You may not be able to hear it. I just ask that you be patient with the state because of the rules of evidence. But when it's time to go back and deliberate, please take the time to listen to that tape. That's not the only time you'll hear about statements the defendant made. There's another witness by the name of Mary Brinkman. Mary Brinkman is her kid's godparents, an individual that she trusts enough to be godparents. Mary Brinkman will testify, evidence and testimony will show the defendant admitted to dropping Chad off at that location. She admitted to following Chad, and she admitted to hiding out behind a detached garage. Ladies and gentlemen, evidence and testimony will also show there is no DNA evidence connecting this defendant to the scene. And the state would ask again, you keep in mind the concept of complicity and the mob boss who orders a hit in California, or the getaway driver who sits in the car while the person is in the bank. Once you listen to the evidence and testimony in this case, the state is positive, confident that you will find the defendant, Erica Stefanko, guilty of murder and aggravated murder, for it was the defendant who was part and parcel of the planning and execution of this murder against Ashley Biggs. It was the defendant who made that call and lured Ashley to her death. It was the defendant who laid in wait until Chad got in that car and was driving Ashley Biggs' body. It was the defendant that followed him to the cornfield and again waited for him to drive the car way to the right side and come back. It was the defendant who drove Chad home to clean up that dirt and blood that was on him. And it was the defendant, Erica Stefanko, who drove back to the crime scene. And it was the defendant who was found hiding with him behind that detached garage that night. And all of this with 4 children in the car, ages 7 to under 1. She was in it for a penny, in it for a pound. With that, ladies and gentlemen, the state would ask that you find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of aggravated murder and murder.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to stay by the podium here because of the microphone, so I'm going to stand over here. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen each other, so I'll reintroduce myself. I'm Jeff Laybourne, along with Angie Killey and Mike Kranek here. We represent Erica. We really appreciate your patience in this, and generally, I know I can speak for all parties, we really appreciate your service. This is very important to the system, and obviously very important to Erica. Now, before I get into it, I just want to comment about something that the prosecutor, closed up with. In for a penny, in for a pound. In for a penny, in for a pound. I haven't heard that phrase in a long time, but I think what you're trying to say is, look, if you're involved a little bit, you're involved all the way. And I understand why she used that euphemism there. Because what you'll hear, the testimony and the evidence, is that they've got about a penny's worth of evidence here against Erica Stefanko. What you will hear an overwhelming amount of evidence about is what Chad Cobb did. That he alone had the intent and purpose to do this. That he set it up alone. You'll hear evidence and testimony that he had a volatile relationship with Ashley Biggs, involving protection orders and things like that. What you'll hear is, based on all of that, is that he had the motive to do this, not Erica. You'll hear that that night, Chad Cobb was dressed head to toe in full camouflage. You'll hear that he was alone behind that building on West Turkey Foot Lake Road. You'll hear that he alone killed Ashley Biggs. You'll hear testimony that he used an assortment of tools and weapons that belonged to him, that were his property. You'll hear that he alone drove Ashley Biggs to that cornfield. You'll hear that that place was not just a random place that he picked. The place that he picked to drive her car and her body was a place that was special to he and Ashley Biggs. you'll hear that that place was their bridge. Not he and Erica, he and Ashley. You'll hear that this place also is not random in that it is very, very close to Chad Cobb's parents' home. You'll hear that he alone, not Erica, called his parents right after he committed the offense, including his mother, Cindy Cobb. We'll hear a lot about her. You'll hear that he alone needed clean clothes afterwards. You'll hear that he alone was hiding in those woods behind his grandmother's house. Not Erica, Chad. The property that he chose to hide at in those woods was his grandmother's house. You'll hear that his DNA and his DNA alone is at the crime scene. You'll hear that he purchased phone cards at Walmart. You'll hear that he, and he alone, was indicted for the murder of Ashley Biggs. You'll hear that he was facing aggravated murder, kidnapping, tampering with evidence, retaliation charges. And importantly, you'll hear that he, and he alone, was facing the death penalty. You'll hear that he accepted responsibility. That prosecutor right there dropped the death penalty. Chad Cobb pled to the charges in the indictment. He pled an agreement for them to drop the death penalty specification and that he would serve a sentence of life without parole. And at this point, you'll hear, once he gets to the prison, once he starts serving that life sentence, you'll hear that things started to change. What the government did not tell you in their opening statement is that while he did accept responsibility, shortly thereafter, he filed an appeal to withdraw his plea. You'll hear that that appeal was denied. You'll hear that that did not stop Chad Cobb. Because you're going to hear that Chad Cobb believes he's getting out of prison. And that belief is important to this case. You'll hear about his belief that he's getting out of prison. Importantly, you'll hear about his mother, Cindy Cobb, her belief that he's getting out of prison. She believes it. You'll hear about his daughter, Grace Cobb, believes he's getting out of prison. And as a result, the Cobbs have not stopped fighting for Chad. You're going to hear that they've undertaken additional appeals. You're going to hear that Chad Cobb has an attorney now to help him change his story. You're going to hear a lot about Chad Cobb and Cindy Cobb and Grace Cobb and about belief. What you're also going to hear is you're going to hear the prosecutor's elicit testimony that is going to be an attempt to make Erica look bad. And you're going to hear that they're going to try to use this looking bad testimony to try to stretch to an aggravated murder conviction. It's the penny and it's the pound. They've only got a penny, so they've got to throw that in there. They're going to use Grace Cobb to try to make her look bad, and therefore she's then guilty of aggravated murder. They're going to use Cindy Cobb, who tapes her secretly and doesn't turn this tape over for years and years. until that belief started to bubble up. Chad's getting out. It's time to act. We've got to put this plan in motion and pin it on Erica. You're going to hear that pinning it on Erica solves a lot of problems for Chad Cobb and Cindy Cobb. They're going to use some allusions to, either directly or indirectly, that she had an affair with Chad Cobb's best friend, Mike Stefanko. That makes her guilty of murder. It's a penny. You're going to hear from Mike Stefanko, Erica's husband. They're married to this day. I ask that you not be fooled. So as I said, this case is about belief. You're going to hear testimony about belief. The belief of Chad Cobb and the belief of Cindy Cobb. And the belief that if they implicate Erica, it gets her out of the way. You're going to hear it's going to help get Chad out and get Erica in. That way Cindy Cobb doesn't have to deal with Erica, with the grandkids, custody, visitation, weekends. Cindy Cobb doesn't want to deal with any of that. They need her gone. Now, the state can talk about penny and a pound, but the judge is going to give you the instructions on complicity. And that's what she's getting at with the penny and the pound, but it's not that simple. You're going to hear that the government has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she had the same criminal intent as Chad Cobb. So they've got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she had the same intent as Chad Cobb, that she shared the same purpose as Chad Cobb, that she shared the same state of mind as Chad Cobb. You're going to hear from Chad Cobb. And I want you to think about his state of mind and who could share it other than Chad Cobb. You're going to hear about co-defendant or co-conspirator testimony. And the judge is going to tell you to view that testimony with, quote, grave suspicion. That's Chad Cobb. You'll hear that Chad Cobb brought Erica and Cindy in on this thing after the fact. Chad Cobb committed this murder. And you'll hear testimony and you'll see evidence that at that point he needed help. After it was finished, he needed help. And he turned to two women in his life, Cindy Cobb and Erica Stefanko. Chad needed Erica's help because he got rid of his Ashley problem. Chad needed Cindy's help to get rid of his Erica problem. So again, I thank you all for being here. I thank you for being attentive thus far. We're going to all get through this. And I just ask you to pay very close attention to what is said up on that witness stand.
33.
Okay. Are you from this area?
Yes.
Okay. Do you currently
Okay, now we are going to, this is going to be
live in this area?
testimony of the girlfriend of the victim, Ashley Biggs.
Area?
Yes.
I want to talk to you about Ashley Biggs. Does that name ring a bell to you?
Yes.
Okay. Will you please tell the jury how are you familiar with Ashley Biggs?
We were in a relationship at the time.
At what time?
We met in July 2009 up until her death.
How did you and Ashley meet?
We met at a family member's house, my family.
Okay. Was it during did your family previously know Ashley?
Sort of. They met her a few times. She went there with a mutual friend.
It's worth noting as well, this happened in the original trial for Erica as well, that many people chose not to show their face. So that's what we're going to experience a lot of. It seems like in the retrial as well, are people opting for them to not show their face.
And when you met her, what happened?
We just were instant friends, kind of developed into a relationship.
And how long were you friends prior to developing into a relationship?
A few months.
At that time, did Ashley have any children? Did you know anything about her background?
Yes, she had a daughter.
Did she have her daughter with her at the time that you were talking to her?
She did not.
During the time you were in the relationship with Ashley, were you able to learn anything about her background?
Yes.
And what was some of that?
About her life with her parents, her grandma, things about her relationship with the father of a child.
Are you aware she was in the Army?
Yes.
Okay. And approximately during this relationship, did you two ever live together?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that. How did you come to live with Ashley?
It kind of just happened naturally. I mean, there was nothing, there was no like moment. It just, we were together all the time. We just decided to move in together.
Did you two get a location or did one move into the other's place?
We got an apartment together.
Where was that?
In Mogador.
And you said you were familiar with that she had a daughter?
Yes.
And what was her daughter's name?
Grace.
When you met her, you said she did not have Grace?
Correct.
At some point in time, did Grace come to live with you all?
Yes.
Will you tell the court about that, or the jury about that?
Okay. We received letters from CPS of cases that were opened and closed. They had no details. So Ashley decided to go to court and just kind of get more information and see what was going on and see if she could understand what was going on, why she was getting those letters.
Okay. And you said CPS. What's CPS?
Child Protective Services.
And you said you all were getting them?
She was getting them.
She was getting them?
She was getting them.
They were being mailed to the location that you all were living at?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a chance to see or view any of those letters?
Not the details, just that there was a case that was opened and closed.
Okay. And when you say a case that was open and closed, what do you mean a case?
Like an abuse case.
Who did that case involve?
Her father.
And who else?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I believe it would be Chad and Erica together, but I can't be certain.
CPS, that deals with children?
Yes.
Would Grace have been involved in that case?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Were you made aware of what was in those letters?
No.
Okay. You said you had limited, you know what, let me see what you said. Those letters, you had answered questions previously. How did you know as much information as you did regarding those letters?
The letters came, they just had a case number, and it said that there was an open and closed case. Very little details.
Okay. And that's from what you saw in the letters?
Yes.
Okay. And you said it involved Chad. Did you see that in the letters?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. I asked you about Grace Cobb. Did you see, what is your personal knowledge about Grace Cobb in those letters from, I'm going to use your initial, CPS? Do you have any recollection about that?
I don't.
Okay. No. Approximately when, or were there multiple letters that you all received?
I know there was at least 2.
And around what time frame did you receive those letters?
I believe it was around 2010, late 2010, early 2011.
And after Ashley and you all received those letters, what actions did you all take?
We went to court to get more information, and just for her to speak with someone about not seeing her daughter, kind of all of that. And she went in front of a magistrate. I wasn't in there, so I'm not sure all that was shared, other than what I was told.
And you said about Ashley not seeing her daughter. At that point in time, was she seeing her daughter or getting visitation?
No,
If you are aware at that time, did Ashley know where her daughter was?
she did not.
When she went down to the courthouse, would that have been domestic relations court?
Yes,
Okay, in this building?
yes,
You went with her?
yes,
And you said you did not go into the courtroom with her. Is that a fair statement?
correct.
What was Ashley's demeanor when she went to court?
I mean, she just was curious. She was upset. She wanted to know what was going on.
And at that point in time, did you know or were you aware how long it had been since Ashley had seen her daughter?
Not an exact time, but I knew a couple years.
And how long had you been with Ashley at that point in time?
About 2 years.
Okay. And had she seen her daughter during the time you were with her?
No,
If you know, did she know where her daughter was during the time she was with you?
she did not.
So you're at the courthouse. Ashley's in the courtroom. You're not. What happens after that? What develops when Ashley comes out of the courtroom?
She came out with paperwork stating that she was getting temporary custody of her daughter.
Based on your knowledge of the reasons you went down there, was that one of the reasons that you all went down there?
No,
Did you know or think that was going to happen from that court experience?
no.
And so now she has temporary custody. Do you know approximately what date that was?
Yeah, the first few days of October 2011.
Okay. If I say October 5th, 2011, does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. What was Ashley's demeanor once she came out with that paperwork?
Shocked.
And what was your demeanor?
Shocked.
What did you all do after that?
We tried to figure out how we were going to make this work, as in her seeing her daughter. She was fearful. She didn't know how to go about doing it. We reached out to Akron police for assistance to go pick Grace up, and they said they didn't do civil standbys, or they said that they didn't go to other counties. We called Wayne County. They said they don't do civil standbys out there, and that's what we would need.
What's a civil standby?
When the police go with you to a home to get the child.
Okay. And you said she came out with paperwork. Was it just the temporary custody paperwork? Did she have any other documents or court paperwork for against Grace or for against Chad?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. And approximately what time of the day was this?
I don't remember.
Okay. Would it have been during school hours?
Yeah, eventually.
Okay. Did you all end up getting Grace that day, October 5th?
We did.
Okay. Tell the jury how you went about getting Grace. First of all, were you part and parcel of that?
Was I with her?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jury how you went about getting Grace.
We went to her school. Ashley went in. I stayed in the car. She went in with the paperwork, and she spoke with school officials who called the police to come and verify the paperwork. And I don't know the details of what went on, but she was able to leave that day with Grace.
Okay. You said she went to Grace's school. Where did Grace go to school?
St. Peter and Paul.
Where is that? What county?
Wayne County, I believe.
Okay. And do you know approximately how old Grace would have been at this time?
6.
Okay. How long did that whole process take when you were at the school?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I felt like I was waiting out there for a while, but I'm not sure. Maybe an hour.
So Ashley comes out with Grace. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
When they come out, what is Ashley's demeanor?
Happy.
And what is Grace's demeanor?
She was quiet, but she talked when we got closer to home.
And what was going through your mind? What were you thinking at this time?
I'm not sure. A lot, I guess, you know.
I mean, you two went to a courthouse earlier that day, and now you have temporary custody of you said 6-year-old?
Yes.
As you were going to the school, did you and Ashley talk about what you're going to do or how you're going to handle the situation?
She was just talking about being nervous, being scared of what would come after.
And at that time, did you have any children?
No.
Did you have any experience raising children at that time?
Just nephews. Not raising, but around.
Excuse me. How old were you?
Let's see, 21, 20?
Jeez.
Was turning 21 a week later.
And Ashley was approximately 25?
Yes, almost 25.
Where did you all go once Ashley came out with Grace?
We were living at my mom's at the time, so we went there.
Did your, I can't stop coughing, good Lord. Did your mom live in Wayne County?
No, she lived in Summit.
And what did you all do once you got to your mom's house in Summit County?
I don't remember the order we did everything in, but we had went to the store so Grace could get a change of clothes. We went to the playground just so she could be in a kid's environment, be more comfortable, you know, kind of like getting back in the swing with her mom.
I didn't even think about that. Did you have any supplies for Grace? Did you and Ashley have any supplies? Meaning food, clothes, anything like that?
Not clothes.
Okay. And you said you went to the store to get her some clothes.
Yes.
What about sleeping arrangements? How was that going to work out at your house?
There was a spare bedroom.
Okay. Okay, so now you're at your mom's house. At this point in time, had you ever met Chad Cobb?
No.
Okay, only heard about him through Ashley.
Yes.
At this point in time, had you ever met Erica Stefanko, or were you even aware of Erica Stefanko?
I had never met her, but I was aware.
How were you aware?
Stories Ashley would tell me, messages, things she would show me.
Sidebar. No, or my memory was better. I think the last thing you talked about was how did you know or were aware of Erica Stefanko?
Through Ashley.
Okay. But you had never seen or talked to Erica Stefanko or Chad Cobb?
No.
Now, while you were you said it was your mom's house?
Yes.
Okay. Did someone tell the jury what happened while you were at your mom's house?
The day that we had Grace.
That is correct.
Chad's mom and grandma came to my mom's house to confront her about taking Grace.
Had you yourself given them the address?
No.
Do you know how they found where your mom lived?
No.
To the best of your to the best of your knowledge, do you know if Ashley gave them your mom's address?
She did not.
And when you said they came to confront Ashley about taking Grace, what was their demeanor when they got there?
Chad's grandma was trying to, I don't know what you would call it, but she came up to Ashley and she goes, Ashley, you know, why would you take her? She just, it went back and forth, I guess. They were mad, then they were just flip-flopping.
Okay. And when you say they, that was Chad's mom and grandmother.
Yes.
Did Chad come that day?
No,
Did Erica Stefanko come that day?
she did not.
And we're going to mention the name Erica Stefanko throughout your testimony. Do you see the Erica Stefanko that we'll be talking about in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Will you please point to Erica Stefanko and describe for the court what she's wearing?
Gray shirt, black pants, braid, and glasses.
Your Honor, will you please let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant?
Yes, let the record reflect the witness has adequately and correctly identified the defendant, Erica Stefanko.
Thank you. All right. Approximately how long did they stay?
I'm not sure. Maybe 10 minutes.
How did that make you feel, them coming to your parents' house?
Annoyed.
Okay. Now, after that, were there incidents with the police coming to your house or coming to you? Will you please tell the jury about that?
They would come and do welfare checks.
On Grace?
Yes.
Okay. Did anything come of those welfare checks?
No.
Based on your knowledge, do you know how the police got to your house, meaning what prompted them to come to do the welfare checks?
They were called by Chad Cobb.
And was this an isolated incident, or tell me about the number or the volume of calls?
Can you say it again?
Was this an isolated incident, the welfare checks, or were there multiple welfare checks?
There were multiple.
And did anything come of any of the welfare checks?
No.
Were there? So you're at your mother's house. They stay for a while. Chad's grandmother and mother, then they leave. Did they leave with Grace?
No.
At that time, Grace stayed with you all.
Yes.
Okay. And that was on October the 5th, 2011. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, what are some of the activities that you and Ashley did to try to make Grace feel at home?
Ashley would show her pictures, talk to her about memories. We went to Ashley's grandmother's, played with chalk, things to make her more comfortable.
Did you ever go to Chuck E. Cheese?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 125. Will you take a moment and look at that exhibit?
Deputy Doty, could you grab the, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do you recognize, do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes.
Will you please tell the jury what you're looking at?
A photo of Ashley, me, and Grace at Chuck E. Cheese.
Does that exhibit fairly and accurately represent you and Ashley and Grace at Chuck E. Cheese?
Yes.
And does that exhibit have a date on it?
Yes.
And what's the date?
October 6, 2011.
And you stated that you had gotten Grace on October 5th. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
This would have been the next day.
Yes.
Were you working at the time?
I don't remember.
Do you know if Ashley was working at the time?
I believe so, yes.
Did you take part in the care of Grace?
Yes.
What are some of the things that you used to do? And did you take part in the care of Grace when Ashley was at work?
Yes.
What are some of the things that you would do with Grace?
We would paint, we would draw with chalk, go to the park.
Did she continue to go to her same school?
Yes.
How would she get back and forth to school?
I took her and picked her up.
And that was in a different county, correct?
Yes.
Now, after, and you said some of the activities that you all would do together would be paint and draw and things of that nature?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 126. You recognize that exhibit?
Yes.
Does that exhibit fairly and accurately represent, and you can turn it over, is there a date on that exhibit?
Yes. November 17th, 2011.
Does that picture fairly and accurately represent you and Grace on November 17, 2011?
Yes.
Please describe for the jury what we're looking at.
Grace and I on our back porch, just painting a picture frame.
Based on your interactions with Grace in the family household, how was Grace acclimating to living with you all?
Very well.
Were there any issues?
No.
Did there come a point in time where there was a court process?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors about that?
It was Chad trying to, I guess, take custody back.
Were there multiple court dates?
Yes.
Did you attend some of those court dates?
Yes.
And again, that would have been in domestic court?
Yes.
Okay. When you went to some of those court dates, were you able to see Chad?
Yes.
Did he have anyone with him?
Erica?
Okay. So the defendant came to some of those court dates?
Yes.
Did you all speak?
No.
Was it civil, not civil, something else in nature?
There was a lot of tension.
And why would you say that?
Because we would be given dirty looks and we just tried to stay away.
And you have to admit, this was a surprise. You said when you came out, you were shocked. And Ashley's demeanor was shocked that you all got temporary, and was it temporary custody?
Yes.
Of Grace? Okay. Is it fair to say that Chad and maybe Erica were shocked just as well?
Yes.
I want to fast forward a little bit to June 20th, 2012. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to ask some of the same questions because we're fast forwarding in time. Was Ashley employed?
Yes.
Where was she employed?
Domino's?
Do you know how long she had been employed at that time?
No, I don't. A few months.
Do you know what she did at Domino's?
She delivered pizza, delivery driver.
Were you employed at that time?
I'm not sure. I was on and off, but at that time, I'm not sure.
During that time, how was your interactions with Ashley? How was your relationship with Ashley?
It was good.
Okay. And was it still good with Grace?
Yes.
Okay. And how about from what you observed being in the family household, how was Ashley's interactions with Grace?
She was on cloud 9.
Okay. And when you say she, which she? Ashley, Grace, both?
I think both.
And that's from what you were able to observe on a day-to-day basis with them?
Yes.
By this time, had there been a visitation order in place?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Or otherwise, was Grace going to visit Chad and Erica at this time?
Yes.
Will you please tell the jury about the visitation and how it was set up?
I don't remember which days, to be honest. It's kind of a blur. I just know she would have visitation over at her dad's house.
Where was the pickup? Where was the pickup?
Barberton Police Station.
Okay. And if you were aware, was that set up in the visitation order?
Yes.
So one side did not go to another's house. Visitation was never at a house. Or pickup was never at a house, so to speak.
Pickup was not, no.
Now, on June 20th, do you know if Ashley had to work that day?
She did.
Did you all have Grace that day, or was she with her dad?
She was with her dad.
Now, can you just tell me about that day? Can you just tell me from the start of the day?
Ashley and I went shopping. We went swimming, got lunch, and then she had to go to work.
Okay. What did you do?
When she left?
Yes.
I believe I went to my mom's, just hung out with my mom.
Okay. Approximately what time did she go to work?
I'm not sure. Sometime in the evening.
When Ashley was at work, did you talk to her anytime when she was at work?
Yes.
Was that common?
Yes.
Okay. And how would you talk to her?
She would call to check in and tell me if they were busy, ask me what I was doing. Okay. Small talk.
Did she call? Did she make those calls that day?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any travel plans?
Yes.
With Ashley and or Grace?
Yes.
Okay. What were those travel plans?
We were going to see a friend down in Kentucky.
Okay. And were you out buying clothes and shopping for the trip you were about to take?
Yes.
If you are aware, do you know if Chad had any travel plans?
That weekend or in general?
In general.
Disney.
Okay. And when you say Disney, can you elaborate a little more?
I just know that they had plans to go to Disney.
And that includes Grace?
Yes.
All right. So at this point in time, Ashley's at work. Did you stay at your mom's the entire night?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened that night.
I got a phone call from the manager of Domino's asking me if I had spoke to Ashley recently.
The manager of Domino's, if I say the name Matt Travis, does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Did you know Matt Travis?
Yes.
How did you know Matt Travis?
He was a family friend.
Okay. And how did you all used to live around each other?
Yes, his wife's grandma lived across the street from us.
Okay. All right. So before he called, you was already familiar with Matt Travis. You knew him.
Yes.
You said you received the call from Matt. Approximately when was that call?
I don't know the exact time. Probably around 11 o'clock,
Around 11?
maybe. I don't know the exact time.
Okay, that's fine. If you don't know, it was at night.
Yes.
Would you say it was late at night?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you received the call from Matt Travis. What was the nature of that call?
Worried.
Okay. Based on that call, what did you do?
I went and got my mom and we drove to Domino's.
And when you say worried about who or whom?
Ashley.
When you got that call, what did you think or what was going through your mind?
I needed to get to Domino's now.
So the nature of that call made you leave and pick up and go to Domino's.
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened once you got to Domino's.
The police came and we talked about Ashley and Chad, what was going on, and I gave them an address to Chad's grandma's house, and they kind of told me some details, and just a lot of conversation.
How did you get on Ashley and Chad?
Because of the court, because of everything that had been going on.
And you felt that pertinent to tell the police?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because of her fear of Chad.
And you said you gave them the address of his grandmother's?
Yes.
And would that be the Rex Lake Road address?
Yes.
Okay. 731 Rex Lake Road, to be exact. Is that a fair statement?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. And you stated you told the police about the court and the court processes they were going through?
Yes.
How long did you stay on scene?
I don't know.
At some point in time, did you go back to your house with the police?
I went to my apartment.
Was that you and Ashley's apartment?
Yes.
Were you with the police?
Yes.
Why?
Because they wanted to get her toothbrush. Ashley's toothbrush.
How did you get back to your apartment?
I don't remember.
You don't know if the police took you or you drove yourself?
I don't remember. It was a blur.
That's fine. After you went to your house to get the toothbrush, what did you do after that?
I think I went back to my mom's.
Did you hear from Ashley after that?
No.
Some point in time, did you find out what happened?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that.
Ashley's mom called me and told me that she said he got her, that she died.
Was that soon after?
Hours.
And we've talked about Ashley quite a bit, and you stated that her relationship with Grace was, how did you put it? They were on cloud nine?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2 and 3. Do you recognize those exhibits?
Yes.
Do those exhibits fairly and accurately represent Ashley and Grace?
Yes.
We're going to talk about those a little more. I'm showing what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 3. Will you please describe for the jury what we're looking at?
Ashley and Grace at Sluggers and Putters.
Where did you say?
Sluggers and Putters,
What's that?
a small amusement park.
And that's one of the places after she got temporary custody that you all would go and take Grace?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 2. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes.
Okay, please tell the jury what we're looking at.
They were go-karting at Sluggers and Putters.
Was that a place that you often went to? Do you know if this is on the same date?
Those were from the same date. And we got to go there once.
I just have a few more questions. During that time, after Matt Travis called you and gave you some information that prompted you to go to Domino's, did you try calling Ashley?
Yes.
Were you able to connect with Ashley?
No.
Did you call her once, multiple times?
The whole way to Domino's.
Okay. And do you remember your phone number from back then?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, what was that?
330-780-8555.
When you call Ashley, did she normally answer?
Yes.
All right. I had asked you about going to court processes, and you said there was tension. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Based on what you were able to observe between Ashley and the defendant, what was their relationship like?
Ashley was fearful.
Ashley was fearful of the defendant?
Yes.
Okay. If you know, do you know why she was fearful of the defendant? If you know.
Basis.
The first part of my question is if you know. Based on your personal knowledge, were you aware if there were communications of any kind between the defendant and Ashley?
Yes.
Okay. And based on your personal knowledge, how did that affect Ashley's demeanor?
It made her afraid.
Okay. And that was based on the communications that was had, that you have personal knowledge of, between the defendant and Ashley.
Yes.
And I keep saying communication. Were there multiple communications?
Yes.
And how do you feel, based on your prior experiences with the defendant, towards Erica Stefanko?
As I sit here today,
Correct.
How do I feel about her?
No. I'm sorry. That was a bad question. Back then, based on your interactions with the defendant, what was your demeanor towards the defendant, Erica Stefanko?
At that time,
Yes.
I wasn't fearful.
Did you have any interactions with the defendant?
No.
Okay. Did you have any interactions with her when you were picking Grace up from school? Directly or indirectly?
Never verbal. We never had any communication.
Okay. Was there a time that the defendant followed you in her car?
Yeah, object. Asked and answered.
Oh, not that. Oh, okay.
Did you ask that previously?
No.
When was that asked?
Two or three questions before.
I'll have Christy look at the record. Didn't see that in the record, so that objection's overruled. I'll let you go ahead and answer Attorney Easter's question.
Yes.
Will you please tell the jury about that?
Well, Ashley and I had picked Grace up from school, and we had seen Erica Stefanko, and she followed us from Wayne County into Summit County to my mom's house
How did you know it was Erica?
because I seen her and because of the car.
Okay, you said you had seen her.
Yes.
Where had you seen her?
At an intersection by the school
Where had you seen her prior to that day to know it was her?
in court.
Okay. Was that the only place you had seen her or seen images of her?
Facebook photos.
Okay. And you said, and about the car.
Yes,
What about the car?
it was Erica's car
How do you know?
because it was what she drove at the time. We had seen pictures of the car. We had seen the car.
Okay. Oh, okay. Two things. You said you seen pictures of the car. Where had you seen pictures of the car?
I believe on Facebook.
Okay. And then you said you had seen the car. Where had you seen the car prior?
In person for drop-offs, pickups.
Okay. What were you feeling when you saw Erica following you from one county to another?
A little nervous.
And what did you do where did you go when you got to Summit County?
We drove to my mom's.
What did you do once you got to your mom's?
We called the cops on the way.
Oh, on the way you called the cops?
Yes.
So it made you nervous enough to call the cops prior to you getting to your mother's house?
Yes.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, was there any reason for the defendant to be following you?
No.
Approximately how far away was your mother's house from the school where you picked up Grace?
About a half hour.
And she followed you the entire half hour?
Yeah.
Were there any other incidents involving cars that you and or Ashley may have called the police about?
Yes.
And what was that?
My car.
What about your car?
I guess we didn't call the police, so never mind that.
That's fine. Are you aware of an incident involving a GPS?
Yes.
From your personal knowledge, will you please tell the jury about that incident?
Ashley found a GPS tracker on her car and called the police to report it.
And a report was made about the GPS tracker found on her car?
Yes.
Did you put the GPS tracker on her car?
No.
If you're aware, based on your personal knowledge, Did Ashley put it on her car?
No,
Was that before or after Ashley got temporary custody of Grace?
after.
And you said there was an incident with your car, but you did not call the police. What was that incident?
Erica had called the police
About
to come to my car to search it.
why would the police search your car?
They thought that there was drugs in it.
Did you have drugs in your car?
Not the first time that a phone call was made, but the second time.
Did you
yes.
put those drugs in your car?
No.
What kind of car did you have?
A Monte Carlo?
Okay. How would somebody be able to get in your car to put drugs in?
It didn't lock.
What did you do after that second phone call with your car?
I sold it
And why did you sell it?
because I didn't want them having access to my vehicle.
Okay. And you didn't see them put anything in your car. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
Okay. Had the police come about your car prior to those 2 times?
No.
Okay. And were those 2 times after Ashley had got custody of Grace?
Yes.
All right. The last incident I talked to you about, the car, your car, I'm going to try to put it in context. Okay. You said the police came out twice. Is that fair?
The first time to the school, the second time to my mom's house.
Okay. So the first time the police came out for drugs, you were at,
The school, Grace's school.
is that when you were picking up Grace?
Yes.
Was anyone else at the school at that time? Meaning the defendant, Chad, anyone else at the school at that time?
I don't remember.
Okay. And when the police came out, did they find anything in your car?
No.
Okay. In terms of timing, when did the police come out the second time?
They were there within 5 minutes of me getting home.
Oh, the same day
Yes.
from picking Grace up from school?
Yes. I actually had called them, and they were already en route
Okay. And why did you call them?
because Erica was parked at the end of the road.
Is this a different day from when she followed you?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a totally different day. You get home from picking Grace up and you see the defendant at the end of the street?
Yes.
Is this where you lived or your family lived?
My mom.
So when you saw her, when you got to your mom's house, what did you do? What did you do?
I called the police.
Did you go in the house? Did you?
Yes, I went in the house.
So at some point in time, you were not by your car.
Correct.
Approximately how long did it take the police to arrive at your house?
Like I said, it was quickly, in 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, so 5 to 10 minutes. And at this point in time, well, let me ask, when the police were called at the school, and you said they did not find drugs, is that a fair statement?
Correct.
Did they look in your car at that time?
Yes, they asked me and I let them.
So now you're back at home, and the police come within 5 to 10 minutes.
Yes.
And I keep saying you're home. This is your mother's
My
house.
mom's home.
Okay. At this time, is it fair to say that you, Grace, and Ashley live somewhere different?
Yes.
When the police come, what do you do?
I tell them what happened, that I went to pick up Grace, and that a cop asked there, just was asking questions, and I let them search my car. And then I got home, I saw Erica, I called, they were already en route, I told them what was going on, and they kind of asked the same questions as the cop at the school, and I told them they could search my car.
And when they searched your car, that time, what happened?
They found a bag of marijuana.
Okay. And you were only gone from your car 5 to 10 minutes. Is that fair? And this is after the first officer searched and didn't find anything.
Correct.
When you came back out when the police there, was the defendant still at the end of the street in her car?
I don't remember.
Okay. Were you charged with that incident?
No.
Okay. Did you let the police know what happened?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
My name's Angie Kelly, and I represent Erica Stefanko. How are you today?
I'm all right.
I just have a few questions for you. This shouldn't take very long, and if you don't understand what I'm trying to ask you, please ask me to repeat it. I do have the tendency to ramble from time to time. So I'm going to start a little bit at the back with this drug issue that we just discussed. You said you were at the school and the police came and they searched your car, correct?
Correct.
And they found nothing in your car, correct?
Correct.
And you were in your car then driving back to your mother's house.
Yes.
You called the police on the way back to your mother's house.
I called the cops getting into my mother's house. Yes.
Okay. So you were in your mother's house for approximately 5 minutes when they arrived, correct?
Somewhere around that. Yes.
Okay. And you testified that you saw Erica down the street from your mother's house.
Yes.
Did you see her at your mother's house?
No.
Did you see anybody at your mother's house?
No.
So in that short window of time, the implication is that somebody came to the property and planted drugs in your car? Did anybody get charged with that bag of marijuana, ma'am?
No.
Okay. As it relates to your relationship with Ashley, and I am very sorry, Ashley certainly died in a tragic way. We're all aware of that. And that affects you. As it relates to your relationship with Ashley, if I understood your testimony correctly, you two were together for approximately 2 years before she got temporary custody of Grace. Is that correct?
Yes.
And during that 2-year period of time, you never met her child.
No.
She never went to court to try to visit with her child.
No.
It's your testimony that she didn't even have a phone number to be able to speak to that child.
Correct.
Okay, so they had absolutely no relationship for at least 2 years prior to going to court. Okay. And I'm not going to ask you what you do. I'm assuming you're not an attorney, correct?
No.
Okay. So the prosecutor was asking you about going to court, and she kept mentioning domestic relations court. Did you only go to one courthouse over this case?
No.
No. Okay, so there were 2 different courts involved, correct?
Yes.
Okay, which one of those 2 courts gave Ashley temporary custody?
This court.
This court over here? Okay, so CPS was not involved with the child at that time, correct?
I wouldn't know.
Okay, did you see anybody from a child welfare agency in the courthouse here?
No.
Okay, and if I told you that child welfare cases are not heard in the courthouse here, would that surprise you?
I don't know.
Okay. After you picked up Grace in October, you said that you made some stops. You got some clothing for her, correct?
Yes.
And then, I'm sorry, did you say you took her to Ashley's grandma's house?
Yes.
Okay. And because I'm getting confused by people, what's Ashley's grandma's name?
Madeline.
Madeline? Okay. Yeah, I don't need the whole thing. I just want to make sure I'm not using like 5 terms to describe who each individual is. Okay, so you took her to Madeline's house. And does Madeline live in Summit County or in Wayne County?
She lived in Summit County.
Okay. And do you know when the last time that Madeline had seen Grace was?
I don't.
Okay. Do you know if she ever had seen Grace before?
Yes, she had.
Okay. And Ashley was raised by her grandmother, correct?
Yes.
So this would be like her taking the child to see grandma.
Yes.
Okay. When you got to Madeline's home, you said some other people showed up?
No.
Okay. Where did they show up?
At my mom's house.
Okay. So we went from Madeline's house back to your mom's house.
Yes.
And is your mom in Summit County or Wayne County?
Summit.
Summit. Okay. She in Mogador?
No, she's in Ellett.
Okay. So at your mom's house, and I'm sorry, Miss Dunson, what's your mom's name?
Michelle.
Michelle? Okay. So when you went back to your mom's house, You went there because you were staying there at the time?
Yes.
All of you were going to be staying there at the time, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear. And you said that some other people showed up that day.
Yes.
Who was that?
Chad's mom and grandma.
Okay, do you know his mom and grandma's name?
Cindy,
Okay. And who's Cindy? Is that Chad's mom or grandma?
it's his mom.
Okay. And what about his grandma? Do you know her name?
Betty.
Betty. So they arrived at your mother Michelle's house in Ellett the first day that Ashley had custody of Grace, correct?
Yes.
But Chad Cobb was not with them,
Correct.
and Erica was not with them.
Correct.
Okay. You said that you have no idea how they knew that residence? Did I understand that correctly? Like, had they ever been to your mother's home before?
No.
No. Okay. Do you know whether they lived in the area of your mother?
No.
Did you happen to notice if somebody was following you after you all left the school with Grace that day?
I wasn't paying attention.
Okay. And you didn't notice anything weird at Madeline's house?
No.
So were they in a vehicle? Where were they at? In Ellett, Cindy and Betty.
In my mom's driveway.
They were standing in the driveway?
Yes.
Did they show up after you did, or were they already there when you showed up with Grace?
They were there and my mom called me. We went back.
You said you went back.
We were at the park. This all
Okay.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
We were at the park.
Okay.
They went to my mom's.
Okay.
We saw them there.
Okay, so they showed up at your mother's house. They're in her driveway. Your mom calls you. These people are here.
Yes.
Okay, how long would it have taken you all to get back from the park then?
5 or so minutes.
Okay, did your mom contact the police or just you?
I believe just us.
Okay, and did your mom know these two women?
No.
And when you arrived, you and Ashley with Grace, what was their demeanor?
Whose demeanor?
Cindy and Betty.
Cindy was mad and Betty was trying to play good cop, I guess.
When you say Cindy was mad, what would give you the indication that Cindy was mad?
Because she was raising her voice at Ashley.
So she was yelling at Ashley.
Yes.
Okay. Was she yelling at your mother before Ashley got there?
I don't know.
Don't know. You just know that they were on the property.
Yes.
And it concerned your mother because did she find out who they were before she called you?
I don't remember.
Okay. Just realized I didn't ask that step. I'm like, how do we know who she is? All right. So Cindy is yelling at Ashley, correct?
Yes.
And does Ashley yell back?
No.
No. What does Ashley do?
We walk inside.
And as you're walking inside, how does that seem to affect Cindy Cobb?
I don't know.
She keep yelling?
Honestly, I don't know. We just went inside.
Was she still yelling when you shut the door behind you?
No.
Okay. And to be clear, when she's yelling at all of you when you're walking into the house, she's not yelling congratulations or anything on getting custody of this child, is she?
No.
It was probably not very pleasant.
Correct.
Okay. You mentioned that you had CPS or Child Protective Services come to your home with Ashley numerous times, and they never found any issues with your home, correct?
Correct.
Or the care that you ladies were providing for Grace, correct?
CPS didn't come to the house. The police came to the house.
Oh, the police came. Okay, I'm sorry. But they didn't have any concerns about the care the child was receiving?
No.
Okay, and just to be clear on direct examination, you testified that those were initiated by Chad Cobb, correct?
Yes.
The day that Ashley was killed by Chad Cobb, you said that Grace was staying with her father. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. When did she go for that visit? Was it earlier that day or a couple days before, if you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. She just wasn't at your home, correct?
Correct.
But your expectation had been that she would be returning, correct?
I don't remember.
Okay. But there was no reason to believe that you and her and Ashley would not continue living together, but for this incident, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So after Ashley passed away, what contact have you had with Grace Cobb?
After she passed away, I believe it was CPS had reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to continue caring for her.
And did you?
Yes,
You wanted to, or you did continue caring for her?
both.
Both. Okay. How much longer was she in your care?
I believe a month or so.
Okay. And if you know, whose custody was she placed in?
Her grandparents.
Would that be Cindy Cobb?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any visitation rights with Grace?
No.
Has Cindy Cobb and her husband put any effort or allowed you to have any communication with Grace over all these years?
No.
So is it safe to say then from, we'll say, mid 2012 till current, you don't have any relationship with Grace Cobb anymore?
No.
Okay. But when she was living with you and Ashley, you all did operate as a family and had a good relationship, correct?
Yes.
Ms. Dunson, on direct testimony, you said that later on the, early morning when Ashley died, that you got a call from Ashley's mother that said he got her. Who's he?
Chad Cobb.
Prosecutor asked you about a GPS tracker found on Ashley's vehicle. Does anybody know who placed that GPS tracker on the vehicle? You said you didn't do it, correct?
Correct.
Ashley didn't do it, correct?
Correct.
You've never been to court for anybody being charged with that happening, have you?
No.
Okay. I don't have anything further, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Dunson.
Thank you, Attorney Kelly.
All right, so that is where we are going to end today, is with the victim's girlfriend's testimony. That was really telling for sure to hear the relationships between everyone and kind of get a better idea of what that looks like. It's also really sad that she testified that they said he got her, quote unquote. So it's like they knew it was coming. I know that they mentioned threats beforehand and stuff, but I mean, threats to he got her is something that usually you are in denial of, right? You're like, there's no way that's actually going to happen. So it's really sad that just by saying that, they knew exactly what happened to her and that she was gone. So tomorrow we will continue with more testimonies. So I will see you guys then. Thank you guys so much for hanging out as always, and have a fantastic rest of your day.